Good morning, it's December 1st here in Asia. And as I expected, the Swiss gold referendum did not pass. However, I did not expect it to pass. And as I also informed a lot of you in our free newsletter that there was going to be a lot of gold volatility to the downside leading into this vote, which we saw, and then it's continuing today as well with gold around $11.53 right now, and silver around $15 once again. So looks like the banksters took the opportunity to also slam silver prices in the paper market as well, although there's huge divergences between the fake paper silver prices and the real physical silver prices right now, because if you look at Northwest Territorial Mint, who prints Canadian silver maple leafs for less than 75 ounces. If you're buying less than 75 ounces, the premium is massive. So they're pricing their 1 ounce silver maple leafs for a less than 75 ounce purchase at 28.13% premium over spot right now, which actually has grown because it was a 26% premium of real physical silver coins for less than 75 ounces over the fake spot paper silver price last week. So it's grown from 26% to over 28%. So that aside, the final vote showed that 78% voted against, 22% voted for, which is a massive turnaround from just 6 weeks ago. I actually mistakenly put on Twitter that in less than a month the vote massively shifted, but it was just an extra 2 weeks. So in mid-October, because it's mid-October to end of November, which is approximately 6 weeks, the for vote, which was shown to be a very scientifically conducted poll. So this was actually the very first poll, was the only poll that was given credence to being scientifically conducted accurately, was 45% for, 38% against. So even if all the undecided, and the rest were undecided, even if the remaining undecided vote decided to all vote against, which is highly unlikely, then it still would have only gone up to 55% against if those that were for, the 45%, stood their ground. Now, as I just mentioned, the final against vote was 78%. So in about 6 weeks' time, the referendum went from 38%, you double it, 76%. So it's more than double. The final vote was 78% against in less than 6 weeks' time. I've never, ever heard of that much of a massive shift in the percentage of for and against any type of legislation that was up for vote, any type of referendum. So I'm thinking that that final vote had to be extremely shady. I said the only way you can guarantee that vote was actually accurate and not predetermined, as most important votes about anything that is going to do with banking is going to be predetermined. So the people might as well have stayed at home and the percentages would have been the same if only 5% of the country voted. I'm not sure how much of the country actually participated, how many of the eligible voters in Switzerland participated, but even if that percent was 2%, it still would have been 78% against and 22% for. The percentages would not have changed, because I guarantee you the percentages were predetermined beforehand, because there are no exit polls as far as I can see from any of the news I've searched online. So there's no way to guarantee the accuracy of those final results, and it's hard to believe that people would be so naive and so susceptible to propaganda that their against vote would more than double in 6 weeks. Usually when you hear in any type of polls, like, you know, if you look at the presidential election polls for any presidential race in any country, when you get like a 2% shift in a vote, people say, oh, there's a big turn now, there's lots of momentum. If you get a 5%, that's considered big. And if you get a 10% shift, that's considered massive. Now remember, this went from 38% against to the final 78% against. So there's an additional 40% that changed their mind. That just does not seem believable. It seems that what happened was very, very shady and not legitimate in that regard. But it's also, again, I said, very much in line with my expectations, because when you have the fiat banking Ponzi scheme basically coming to the throes of going over the cliff right now, that the bankers are going to throw everything they have against gold and silver. So you would expect this kind of volatility. You would expect this kind of knockdown, because they're not going to go. They're going to go out basically in a huge ball of flames, in like Bonnie and Clyde kind of like tragic final end, because they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up until the very end. I can guarantee you that. Even when the writing's on the wall, they're still not going to give up. They're going to do everything they can until the final end. Why would I say that? Because they're just so arrogant. These bankers are so arrogant, narcissistic, misanthropic. This is the kind of behavior you would expect from them. Now, the final thing I want to say is that I'm going to address in the next video something about investment psychology. As all of you know that have been watching my YouTube channel for a while, I've spoken in great depth about investment psychology because it's really, really important to understanding and making intelligent decisions as far as what to do in the gold and silver arena. But a lot of times people basically discard investment psychology and basically don't give it the attention that they should, because we need to understand. And I'm not going to actually ruin this video, but I believe I can use this video to prove my point in the next video I'm going to make about investment psychology. So we will see how that all pans out. Until then, stay tuned as always, stay nimble, especially in this kind of volatile environment with gold and silver. Realize that you have to follow the real prices of physical gold and physical silver to understand what's going on in the world. Don't follow the fake paper spot prices to understand what's going on and what will happen long term. You got to understand the fraud, the manipulation, and the reality in the paper markets, and the reality of what is happening in the physical markets with physical supply and physical demand. Okay, that's all for now. As always, remain intensely curious. So long.